You've been opposed to vaccines now for a long time, very heavily critical of the COVID vaccine.
That's not true.
Well, you're not a vaccine denier, but you are a very, very skeptical, very public voice of skepticism about the efficacy of vaccines. Would that be fair?
What I've said is vaccines, I'm not anti-vaccine. I think vaccines should be subject to the same level of rigorous testing as other medications. And that is the only thing, my only position. Listen, I fought to get mercury out of fish for 40 years, and nobody called me anti-fish. I'm not anti-vaccines just because I want safe vaccines. And I think everybody wants safe vaccines. And as we all now recognize, the COVID vaccines were neither safe nor effective.
Well, that is, but as you know, heavily disputed by a lot of top scientists who say that comparative to other vaccines, it was very safe. Obviously, like all vaccines, it's had issues. Obviously, they had to move at the speed of light because it was a novel virus that was killing a lot of people. But it wasn't an unsafe vaccine.
If you look at the countries that did not vaccinate, they had the lowest death rates. They had the lowest COVID and infection rates. And if you look at the Johns Hopkins data, which is the data everybody relies on, there's a direct correlation between excess deaths in nations, in the Western nations, that heavily vaccinated and the level of COVID vaccination. So if you look at excess deaths, how many people died that shouldn't have died at the end of the year? The vaccine cause is associated, because we don't know, we can't say cause because it's a correlation. But the deaths in the nations that heavily vaccinated, which were much higher than those that didn't. I'll give you an example. We in our country, one of the most heavily vaccinated countries in the world. We also had the highest COVID death rate in the world. So we have 4.2% of the global population. We have 16% of the COVID deaths. That's not a success story. How can anybody point to that and say, unfortunately, the vaccines were a benefit?
Listen, we've run out of time. I certainly don't. Listen, I've got to end it there.
Wouldn't it be great if that guy was the Democrats' nominee for president, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Rescue Michigan Weekly live stream. Hey, Patty, how you doing?
Good. That was hilarious. He's like, no one's called me anti-fish.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, he's good at he's good at punching back when he gets those tough questions. But I don't know. I mean, I consider myself a Republican. I don't know if I could bring myself to meddle in a Democrat's presidential primary. Could you?
Is it meddling?
Well, no, I mean, technically.
I guess it depends what our choices are. I mean, if it seems like, you know, it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win ours, then wouldn't we want a better choice on the other side if it comes down to that?
That makes sense to me, especially if the foregone conclusion is Trump or DeSantis or whoever. Like, okay, well,
that's,
you know, and by the way,
yeah,
you know, folks, I have access to like hundreds of thousands of voter records, and I look over because you don't get to see in the regular August primary elections which party's ticket each voter voted in, but you do get that for the presidential primaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I see tons of people who vote on the opposite, like you'll see like RDDR for the presidential primaries for the last 4 of them. Because people do that all the time. They're like, oh, well, it's 2012 and Barack Obama's running for re-election. He'll be their nominee. Let's vote in the Republicans' presidential primary, shall we? That kind of stuff happens all the time.
Well, Jay Michaud, you're assuming Biden is totally unelectable. He won once. I mean, I know nobody wants to hear it, but he's sitting in the Oval Office, so.
Yeah, I'd rather not take a risk personally.
I'd rather have the better choice. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, there's a history to all this too. There's the best book on the subject is A Choice Not an Echo by Phyllis Schlafly, which is like a documentation of the presidential nominating contest since going back to the beginning of the 20th century. And all kinds of crazy stuff happens behind the scenes all the time. And it's the establishment implementing their candidate and denying the general public what their real choice was. And she goes all the way back to like the Wendell Willkie convention. But this is like 1912 or something.
Oh, okay.
But Trump was real. I mean, and to some degree Reagan, but Trump was like the first anti-establishment candidate to win the nomination and then win the presidency, unless you count Reagan too, which you might. And she has an interesting story about Reagan's nomination. But if it was Trump versus RFK Jr., holy moly, now the establishment's lost on both sides of the ticket. And I think that'd be hilarious.
Populist left, populist right.
Yeah. And we talked about this in today's email.
Is he talking to us or is he talking to Matt McCormick?
I hope he's well, I don't know who he's talking to.
Yeah.
But anyway, he couldn't, he's probably being sarcastic talking about me. Yeah, quoting Phyllis Schlafly's book. You sound like a lot of fun.
Well, there's a troll in the thing anyway, but
I don't mind. Anyway, so we did an email today, and we did an email on something similar a few months ago, and I kind of let it go since last February, but then it occurred to me, this is actually really, really important. And it's something that we can do, something that we can accomplish, and something that will absolutely devastate the Democrats. And that is for the Republican Party in Michigan to say, you know what, we don't need to have a presidential primary. And there's a lot of backstory to this. So I'm going to try my best to explain this. So I know I did my best in the email blast, but it wasn't enough because there's a lot to explain. It's very, very confusing how all this stuff works. So Pat, you had a question before the show. If you want to ask me again, so I can try to answer that.
I mean, I'm not sure if everyone has had the chance to read your email, but basically the gist was the Democrats voted to move up the primary date.
Yep.
Now, so the primary date, that means
and moving up the primary means we're going to lose 85% of our national delegates.
Okay, you skipped a lot of steps. So if the Dems they voted to move it up, right? They have the majority. They voted all in favor of it. The Republicans voted all against it.
Yep.
However, so if they voted up the date, that means if we have a primary, that date applies to all. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
There's only one taxpayer funded primary.
Okay.
And it's
the party
prescribed by law.
The majority votes or whatever they vote on, they get to decide that date for the whole state, not just for their side.
Right. Well, because it's a taxpayer funded election. So the twist is that the Republican Party does not have to avail itself of the taxpayer funded primary.
Okay, but that's the next step. So if we got to go one step at a time. So if we follow what date they picked, it has to be that date. However, we will somehow get penalized for doing that, but it's basically out of our hands because we don't have the majority anymore. Because people didn't go out and vote for a state house and state rep.
That's the RNC's rules. The RNC says we have an order we want the states to go in, and if you go before Super Tuesday, then you're going to get punished.
But how can there not be a caveat or an out for that when the other side moved it up? It's not like we moved it up. Why are we being penalized by our own national party for something that the other side did to us in our state?
Well, we have to ask Ronna McDaniel and the RNC about that. Honestly,
in Northville, Ronna.
In theory, they could change their policy later on. There's precedent for this. In 2008 and in 2012 in Michigan, both of those years, the Republicans moved our primary up super early because they were trying to influence the election.
Okay, well then,
and because they wanted to benefit Mitt Romney. Well, in 2008, the RNC said, even though the rules say we're going to take away half your delegates, we'll let you guys have your delegates. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. And that was the end of it because John McCain was the nominee. And it was Romney's people that did this. So they're like, who cares? It's fine. No big deal. Well, in 2012, Romney's people were the ones running the national convention and they wanted to punish Michigan. So they said, so they said, nope, we're not changing the rules. You guys lose half your delegates. So at our state convention to elect the national delegates, the state party had to elect what they call delegates in waiting, and alternates in waiting. And the idea being, if the Republican National Committee decides at the last minute we're gonna change the rules and allow you guys to be seated, then you can be seated. But if not, then too bad. And they never did change the rules, so they never did get to be delegates. So that's part of the motivation why the Democrats moved the presidential primary up so early, was just to stick it to the Republicans, to put them in the situation. So that was a part of it.
I didn't know all that backstory, so thank you for explaining that. But okay.
So the other thing that they want to do, I thought at the time in February, when it really looked like they were going to kick Biden to the curb, was doing this to brown-nosed Gretchen Whitmer, because they want the primary to be early. If it's in Michigan, that's going to be they would assume Whitmer would be the one that Democrats in Michigan would nominate. So let's move the primary up extremely early and give Whitmer a boost in the polls. Now it's looking less likely that that's going to happen. In fact, it's looking a lot less likely that's going to happen, because what the Democrats have done is they've moved around their whole nominating sequence to have South Carolina go first.
Be first, right?
Yeah, because South Carolina is the James Clyburn political machine, and that's exactly what they were, what they did in 2020. Remember, in 2020 in Iowa and New Hampshire, Joe Biden came in like 5th place. I mean, nobody wanted Joe Biden because he's propulsive. But then in South Carolina, James Clyburn got the votes for Joe Biden, which, if you guys don't know how that works, I'll be happy to explain it to you. You see, Republicans have tried for years to understand how you get the black vote. And it's actually very simple. You buy it. And that's what James Clyburn does. He buys their votes, and he's very good at it. So Joe Biden, hands down, won the South Carolina primary, and boom, instantaneously, all the other Democrat candidates just dropped out. And Bill Clinton even
falling in line in our state Senate race too, or our U.S. Senate race, right?
Yeah, the Democrats will always fall into line. They do what their party bosses tell them to. Let me see if I can find that clip, by the way, of Clyburn, because I saw it earlier today when I was writing the email. I'll see if I can pull it up. This may be the story here. Let me see if I got it handy. Try looking one more time because I thought I found it. I'll play the clip of Bill Clinton literally at John Lewis's funeral.
Okay.
And he says, "Yeah, I want to thank Jim for settling this family dispute," meaning getting Biden the nomination.
Right.
Anyway, so think about this now, folks. Maybe I'll try to dig up the clip later, but probably not. But you can find it. But the point is, the Democrats have put South Carolina first for a very specific reason, because James Clyburn will once again put all the momentum behind one Democrat candidate. So even then, that late day of February 27th, guess what the Democrats are going to be looking at? They've got no real nominating contest at all. What are they going to do? They're going to vote in our primary. That's exactly what they're going to do. But the Republican Party in Michigan has an option. They can cancel their primary. And then what happens? Then we elect our national delegates, and they vote for whoever they want to vote for. Who will they probably vote for? Whoever the delegates that sent them there wanted them to vote for. So that's what typically happens. You know, you'll have delegates who say, "I'm a Trump supporter," and maybe you'll have someone, I can't imagine anybody saying I'm a Nikki Haley supporter, but you might have a DeSantis supporter or something. And so the precinct delegates elect state delegates who elect national delegates who are supporting the candidate. And typically, almost always, by the time you get to the national convention, there's someone who's clearly the front runner. I mean, by that time, it's not really a contest anymore. So, you know, you can be a Trump supporter or a DeSantis supporter, or God forbid, a Nikki Haley supporter, and you have to think about this and say, well, no matter who I support, by the time we get to the national convention, it's going to be a nominee. Michigan's presidential primary is not going, I mean, what would make the result in Michigan any different from the results in any other early states, whether it be for Trump or for DeSantis or for anybody else? Dwayne Gritter asks, "Is it true Perry Johnson he's running, buddy? He's running. He's already spending money."
I got a flyer from Perry Johnson. Yeah.
Do you have it? Can you show it to us?
Oh my gosh.
I've seen it. I've heard of it, but I don't have one handy.
Hold on. Let me flick my camera off. I'll be right back.
Yeah, here, hold on. Yeah, come right back, and I'll bring you back on.
Okay.
Yeah. Perry Johnson is running for president, and it's so sad because his consultant is just taking him for all of his money. And you know, if you're running for president, you know, you raise money, and then the time comes to spend money, and typically that time is about a month or so before the primary election. That's when you got to spend your money. And we're getting Perry Johnson spending campaign mail now. There you go. Americans are paying more for everything. Yeah, and there's a Perry Johnson. Yeah, that's, I mean, you know, it's a fine campaign slick.
It's the opposite.
Huh?
I said, I don't know. I was going the wrong way on my camera. Like I got.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, people can see it.
$100, and then this is the other side.
Yeah. Perry Johnson will put Washington on a 2-cent diet. Yeah, Jay Michaud says,
I feel like
Perry Johnson sent his book to our county party. Yes, we got the book too. We got the book too. It's all about his 2 cents. That's like his campaign theme is my 2
Laughed
cents.
when Donald Trump announced. I didn't, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of people did, but I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I watched The
Well,
Simpsons. No, just kidding, just kidding.
yeah, I don't think Perry Johnson's quite in the same league as Trump, honestly. And besides that, the other thing too is the guy who's running Perry Johnson's campaign, apparently, this is people have told me who know, and I don't have reason to doubt it, is the same guy that ran his governor's campaign. The one that got thrown off the ballot for collecting illegal signatures.
The quality guru, yeah.
Yeah, the quality guru didn't fire the guy that screwed up his governor race. That's amazing. So anyway, going back to my point. So
my hair's crazy.
there is no evidence whatsoever.
Oh,
Hey, Amber, nice to see you. There is no evidence whatsoever that the public in Michigan in a presidential primary election would reach a different result than national delegates going to the national convention. That's all there is to it. But here's what happens if we cancel our primary. Suddenly, we don't have to worry about Democrats voting in our primary. We get to vote in theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you folks, I'm more inclined to vote for RFK Jr. than for Joseph R. Biden. In fact, that kind of sounds exciting to me.
Yeah.
I'll get to vote at my county convention for when I go to my national convention. I get to vote in the taxpayer-funded primary for the candidate of my choosing in the Democrat race. That's some turnabout, folks. That is some very exciting turnabout. And what does that leave the Democrats the options of doing? They could cancel their own primary.
Well, they can't because it'll be in a convention. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if they cancel their primary, then they look like idiots, which they might actually do. But then they're going to have all kinds of angry voters saying, well, what about democracy and blah, 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 blah. They could repeal the law they just passed and look like idiots. I don't think that's going to happen. So there's no good out for them. There's none. And then suddenly you've got an early state where all those voters might come out and give an embarrassing vote for Joe Biden, a weak vote for Joe Biden. Who knows? Biden might not even win Michigan in that case. So that's the choice the state committee can make. So right. I hope if you guys got your emails, if you're not on our email list, go to Rescue Michigan, sign up for our emails. But we have this little petition. You can see it on our website here. I will put it on screen so you can see. Cancel the Michigan Republican presidential primary. And by the way, folks, leave off any rhetoric about Trump and all that kind of stuff. If you're trying to sell this to people, it's not about that. The Democrats are trying to meddle in our primaries, pure and simple. And this kind of lays out what I was just talking about. We don't have an obligation to do it. We can say, you know what? Don't let the Democrats control our behavior. Let's control theirs. Dwayne Gritter says, I will ask again, why would we vote for a good Democrat candidate? Because that removes an evil Democrat candidate. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Kara McAllister says, I wish Johnson would be the MIGOP sugar daddy instead. No, unfortunately, he's a certain consultant's sugar daddy instead. Very sad. But it is what it is. So we're going to collect these for over the next week.
I mean, why would we vote for him over Biden? Well, had it been RFK or whoever, you know what I mean? We wouldn't have had a vaccine mandate.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Right? I mean, that's reason number one. Like all these people that have lost their jobs or were forced to write exemptions.
Oh, you know, one of the things that brought me the most joy.
Right? The guy supports the Constitution. He's a constitutionalist, at least.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a Republican on a few issues, but I'll tell you what, nothing brought me more joy in 2016 than watching the media go absolutely batshit crazy about Donald Trump.
In the morning that night.
And just to see the Democrat nominee be RFK Jr., they might assassinate him.
Stop.
They did the rest of it. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, I mean, anything that can rattle the establishment cage is something I'm happy to do. And again, I don't see
if he wins, who would you rather have for president? A piece of shit like Biden, or at least someone who has some belief and believes in the Constitution and believes in America? You know what I mean? You got to think about that.
Yeah, if you
okay, I'm
on the screen for anyone not on Facebook.
All
right. Anyway, yeah. I mean, the bottom line is, barring any extraordinary circumstances, the nominee for the Republican Party is either going to be Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. Two fine choices. The Democrats' side, we have either 4 more years of Biden destroying our country,
And Kamala, think about that.
or Kamala, God
Right.
forbid. I mean, hey, folks, you know what? If you hadn't thought of this, it's a great thing we're not all dead right now, because it almost happened. Almost happened this week. It was a minor news story. The news didn't really cover it very much, but Ukraine apparently, according to multiple reports, attempted to assassinate Putin this week, and the drone they launched failed. Guess what would have happened if they had actually carried it out and gotten away with it? There would have been a nuclear exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think those Russian nuclear weapons would be going? I mean, Kiev, obviously. They've been going to Washington too, and New York, and all over America. There would have been a nuclear exchange. Millions and millions of people would have died. That's how reckless Joe Biden is. That's how dangerous he is.
Or
So
whoever.
yeah, I'm happy to do whatever it takes to get him out of office. Thank you very much. So anyway, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, the presidential
we've been
primary.
all over. Yeah.
So
Okay,
there's a couple of more wrinkles to
petition,
this.
We
Go
want to
ahead.
spread the word on the petition, and
Yes.
we explained the why behind it, and that it's actually our own national party that is penalizing us, or could choose not to, and they've gone both ways in the past, right? That's a good summation, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's talking points here. I just realized I misspelled therefore. I got to fix that in the petition. I'll link it from our homepage too. But these are the main talking points. The Democrats are trying to control our election. They're gonna strip us of our national delegation. There's no evidence it's going to have any impact on having a primary versus not having one. And we have no obligation to go along with a taxpayer-funded primary, which, let me also remind everybody, is also subject to all of the election rigging procedures the Democrats have installed. So, presidential primary, you're going to have Democrats not just controlling how we vote, but also counting the votes. You know, it's also going to be another week of early voting and all the rest of that garbage. So everything you don't like about how insecure the elections are, that's the presidential nominating process that we have. That's what we'll be subjected to, unless we choose not to. So a couple other little details I think I need to go through about this, because it is very confusing. So a couple of things. So first is the bill that they passed to move the primary up did not get immediate effect, which is interesting, because what that means is
that because of everyone snapping pictures now?
I think this actually happened before that. I think the Republicans just all voted no on immediate effect. But the funny thing about that is, what that means is that it would not be in effect if the Democrats do what they normally would do, which is that they adjourn the session at the end of December. And if a bill doesn't have immediate effect, it doesn't take effect for 3 months after the legislature goes out of session at the end of December, at which point it'd be too late.
Wait, they already voted for it, though. Aren't they going to go out of session prior to then? When does the 3-month clock start?
The 3-month clock starts whenever the Democrats decide to adjourn the regular session of the year. So as some lawmakers have pointed out, they can adjourn in June. They could say, even though this has never been done in the history of Michigan, but they could still do it anyway, and don't ever put this past Democrats not to do.
Yeah.
They could, because all their laws that don't have immediate effect don't take effect until 3 months after it's called adjourn, sign, die, meaning there's no later date for legislation for the rest of the year. But what they can do is, in June, they can say, we're adjourned for the year, folks. And then all their bills, the clock starts, and the bills all take effect 90 days after, including everything else they've done. Red flag.
They will come back for the second half of the year?
No, then just the governor calls a special session.
Don't give them
No, we're not in regular session anymore. We're in a new session.
Now you're giving them ideas.
Oh, believe me, the Democrats don't need me to get these ideas. They've got them. So what that means is, in June, we'll see if they pull this stunt. I bet they will, because it's not just the presidential primary. It's all of the bills they've passed that don't get immediate effect that they'd like to go into effect 7 months earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
got if they pull that.
Survey. Can we get your thoughts on socialism? Begin your survey now.
What's that from?
I don't know. Some number.
Oh, you got a text or something?
Yeah.
Probably from the RNC.
It's 9:30 on a Sunday. Who's sending text messages?
I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, we'll know probably by the end of June if they try to pull that stunt. If they don't, then maybe we'll actually get a regular primary. I still think we should cancel the primary if that happens, but nonetheless, it's especially bad if we're going to lose 85% of our delegates over it.
Yeah.
But then the other thing, Kara, watch the video again. I'm not going to start this whole presentation over. You're already almost a half hour in, but thank you.
Basically, I'll put it. Okay, so basically, here's my understanding of what you just said. Typically, if immediate effect is not voted on, any of the bills that passed without this immediate effect go into effect 3 months after the state legislature adjourns for the calendar year.
Right.
However, what they could do is when they go on summer break, you said, they could just say they're adjourning for the year as like a trick. And then all the bills would go in effect 3 months after the end of June. So August, September, October. And then the governor would call them back into session using a weasel thing called a special session.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's it. You got it. The other thing to keep in mind is I think the deadline for the state party to make a decision on this is I think it's November 14th. So we've got time yet on this.
Mm-hmm.
But we should start getting the ball rolling soon. So we'll see.
All right. Well, start going to your district committee meetings then, or contact your state committee people.
I certainly intend to.
7 per district.
Yeah. And we'll see. The Republican presidential race is starting to get interesting. There's been a lot of, apparently they're saying DeSantis is going to announce in the next few weeks. That's what I'm hearing.
I heard something. Yeah. So did he get that law passed where he can run even though he is the current governor? Remember, there was some law in Florida that didn't allow it.
I think it's not yet official, but it will be. It won't be an issue. It's standard. I remember in 2016 that was an issue for Rand Paul, and Rand just like, we'll take care of it.
Jay has
didn't make a difference.
I think it was posted above maybe by Jay or someone else, but same question. Yeah.
Yeah. Could they forego the rescheduled earlier primary and still use one of the regularly scheduled state fund elections? I don't think so. I don't think they can. And they wouldn't want to anyway, because it's the Republican regular primary is in August. It's too late. You're already upon the national convention by
voting on at that time.
In August?
Yeah.
All the regular primaries, state reps, Congress, U.S. Senate, those all happen next August.
Oh yeah, state reps. Because state senate, no, state reps.
Yeah,
yeah.
All partisan offices except president have their primaries in August. Yep.
But Supreme Court.
Oh, and as Paula points out, precinct delegates. That's when we're elected too.
Right, precinct delegates, the most important.
Yep. Jay mentioned that too. Yep.
The front line.
So that's right. Do you want to talk anything more about the presidential race? I don't think so. We'll see unless you've got something you want to talk about with DeSantis or Trump.
Well, I was listening to Jesse Kelly over the weekend. If anybody listens to the Jesse Kelly podcast, he's one of my faves. But and he was saying basically that Vivek is only in there to be like, he's just there to go after DeSantis for Trump.
That could be. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's a confusing message because why are you running because you're running against Trump too, technically. I mean, we'll see how well it ends up.
Pay attention, he never bashes Trump, apparently. He just only bashes DeSantis.
He was on Greenwald's show a few weeks ago, and I recall him bashing Trump, but I could be wrong. I don't know. What else is going on? We've had a lot of crazy bills this week. Not too many bad votes. We didn't have our regular watchdog call this week because I've been super busy migrating the Rescue Michigan website and a few other websites. It's a long story and it will be very boring. So never mind that. But we're getting a new web host.
Yeah, no boring stories.
But I did go through all of the bills. Not a lot of controversial votes this week, but there are some controversial new bills, so we can check on some of those. Let me just.
While you're doing that, Barry has a good question. Do you think the Republican constituents will be able to understand moving to a caucus versus popular vote without revealing voting Dem candidate in primary?
Yes. I mean, the bottom line is, first of all, there'll be people yapping about it for months. And secondly, the way that crossover voting typically occurs is it only really happens when only one party has a primary. Like a few times I've heard of Democrats trying to tell their people, don't vote in our primary, vote in the Republicans' primary.
They did it last
And-
August. They sent texts out actually getting people to do that.
Yeah. A few hardcores will do that, but most don't really, except when there's no Democrat contest on the ballot.
Well, that's
But
what
what
happened.
happens all the time is when it's on the one side of the ballot, it's just one candidate, one candidate, one candidate, one candidate. People look at that and they go, oh, well, what's the point of me voting here? I'll vote in the other column.
Right.
That's when
Well,
that happens a lot.
But that's what they do, right? I mean, they're doing it right now for US Senate. They don't challenge each other. They pick who's going where. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, we had 5 and 6 people on our primaries in some state house districts in 22.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I commend anyone who ran, but you know, it's just, it makes it hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here's some of the bills the Democrats have been introducing this week, folks. There's more on the House side than the Senate side. A lot of bills to let murderers, rapists, and burglars and robbers out of prison.
Okay.
The whole productivity credit system. I think they're actually more on the previous page because the page is rolled over. Let me just see if we've got some more over here. There's a whole gaggle of bills about letting criminals out. Let's see here. Where do these start? Oh, they have some holidays we got here. We got a Hindu holiday, an Islamic holiday, a pagan holiday, Lunar New Year. We have to have a holiday for that. Hindu holiday. Okay, so yes, I guess it was just starting there. The productivity credit system for prisoners. And then we've got some more here. There's a whole bunch of these to let more of them out. There's some bills about more attacks on gun rights. Require homemade firearms have serial numbers. How do you come up with a serial number? All transfers, including within your own family, you have to give them a trigger lock and a pamphlet about gun safety. You've got a Juneteenth holiday, literally just popularized by liberals. And you got some Republicans co-sponsoring that one. That's lovely. And I think we come back at some point to more Democrat bills on letting prisoners out. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, prohibit courts from sentencing minimum prison time. Prohibit courts from revoking disciplinary credit from prisoners filing frivolous lawsuits. There's that. Mandate good time credit for prisoners in some circumstances. Eliminate disciplinary time. Eliminate disciplinary time. This just goes on. Michigan Librarian Day. I think this bill got a vote, in fact. Which, why are they? Why do you suppose they're honoring librarians, huh? Maybe because a few of them have been distributing child pornography. Anyway, so lots of going after, or lots of letting these violent criminals out of prison. But then you've got all these other bills here, expanding definitions of hate crimes, creating a new crime for institutional desecration because the government is so sacred. So lots of bills for expanding penalties against you. What else do we have here?
Any questions on Rumble?
Thank you for reminding me. Pam says, I can't remember who it was talking, but I heard a very scary case that Michelle Obama is preparing to run. I don't think that's true. There's a lot of rumors about that, but everything from what I've heard is she doesn't like politics. She doesn't have her own political machine. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Another one says, until we get rid of Dominion, there will be selections, not elections. I don't buy that in general, and I especially don't buy that with respect to Dominion. There's lots of ways that Democrats can cheat a little bit, but not completely. They can take some votes. They can't take every vote. And that's a setback. It's always been a setback. You think vote fraud was invented in 2016? I mean, there's whole articles of convicted people doing everything from intercepting absentee ballots in the mail to forging absentee ballot signatures. Absentee ballots are where the fraud happens. All the stuff about Dominion has all fallen apart. And a lot of people have not done well trying to make a case against Dominion. Somehow the facts have just not bared out. George asks your thoughts on Republicans voting against the distracted driver law. I didn't see that one, but I'd be.
It didn't pass. The distracted driver law didn't pass. I heard. That
okay, well, good.
So, yeah.
Good. I think people
I mean,
should be punished
there were
for.
Democrats that voted against it too. The Democrats within the city of Detroit were voting against it because they said it gives cops, too much leeway to pull people over. Oh, I saw you using your phone,
Yeah,
or whatever.
and I'll take it, frankly. I think people should be punished for material things, not for things that are statistically more likely to cause harm. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know what that means, but I just know I drive.
Well, what that means is they say, oh, well, speeding should be a crime because it's more likely that you're going to get into an accident. Well, yeah, but where does that end? I mean, you can say, well, you're one of the number one groups of people most likely to get in accidents are people who are tired and exhausted and on medication. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
So anyhow, there's all these other bills terminating the statute of limitations on sexual assault allegations, and there's a whole pile of these. There's a reason why we have a statute of limitations, and that's because evidence gets to be harder to verify after decades go by, folks. And of course, the narrative on all this is 30 people, Democrats always accusing Republicans of, he raped me 35 years ago. What evidence do you have? Oh, nothing. Oh, let's take it to trial then. That's what that's all about.
Oh, Christine Blasey, whatever her name was.
Yeah. Yep. So that's that's going on in the House today. The other thing, I think we covered it last week, but in case we missed it, there was also, I don't know if we went over these, but there's bills to literally outlaw fossil fuels, all of them, in I think by 2035. Oh yeah, I know I talked about the driver licenses to illegals last week, so that's in there. But there was, let me see if I can find it here.
Wait, can you scroll up? What was that saying about FOIAs?
Let's see. Allow prisoners to file FOIA requests.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of prisoners become their own lawyers. And sometimes there's.
I'd like to see them where it's not up to the jurisdiction. And be like, it's going to be $10,000 for your one FOIA, or they stall, or they do this and that. Like, that's crap.
Yeah, I agree.
National
popular vote. We've talked about that a lot. We'll talk about that again in our emails this week, I'm sure. Okay, I think we're back where we started.
So they in session now until summer, then until end of June.
Yeah, mid-June. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dwayne says fossil fuels gone by when. We'll see if they actually pull it off. I doubt it. I mean, this is just absolute lunacy, but let me see if I can find it here.
Well, but our auto company is just falling right in line with this. Well, I mean, I know one that is, but.
Yeah, I mean, the craziest thing about it is a lot of these renewables are absolutely awful for the environment. Solar, worst of all. I mean, you think all those solar cells are biodegradable. But of course, the other big thing is extraordinarily expensive, and therefore it's regressive, because who's going to pay the most in energy bills is it's driving me crazy. Why can't I find these bills? Hold on.
Can you just do a Control F on the screen and look for the word?
Yeah, okay, I'll try the previous page. There was a lot of new bills that came out a week or so ago. Let's see here. Okay, let's try 4301.
All right.
See if it's on this page. I think it might be on this page.
George Hiller said Tim Scott is going to be announcing May 22nd. Okay.
Lovely. Will that even be newsworthy? I guess it will be, just because of the
Wasn't it he was saying if Haley did well, he wouldn't run, but since she's sucking, he's going to run. But I mean, I don't see him doing any better.
No, I don't think so either. And this drives me bonkers. I'm gonna just go to the legislature's website. I need to issue code all of my bills. Let's see here. What have we got here? Oh, maybe it was in the Senate. That would explain why I couldn't find it. It's one of these. Let's see what this is. No, it was before this one. I'm sorry about all this dead air, folks. Oh, here we go. Senate Bill 271. Finally. 100% alternative renewable energy sources by 2035 mandate. And there's another bill in the Senate to eliminate coal by 2030. So
Good,
imagine
7 years. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine what the cost of your light bills will be if this passes. It'll be unbelievable. So there you go. We'll probably do some emails about that this week. We haven't done a lot of emails this past couple of weeks, and that's my fault because I've been busy with so much other stuff. A lot of stuff I've been doing with my county GOP. We've got our Lincoln Day dinner coming up. Sold half of our tables to that. That's exciting.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. We got David Barton coming. If you haven't already signed up, you should sign up while you still can because half our tickets are already gone now. But that's on Thursday, May 18th. So come see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. There you go. Dwayne says, abundance of info there. I got to get in there. Thank you. There you, yeah, David Barton. We got a text from Congressman Tim Walberg who said he couldn't make it because he's in session. He called David Barton his friend and talked about how he brought him to the State of the Union once, and Barton like knew everything that was going on with all the history of these different artifacts and things that they have around the Capitol. Because Barton has this huge collection of like correspondence from the Revolutionary War era and all this kind of stuff. Oh, he's talking about the spreadsheet. Well, that's nice too. Yes. Operation Watchdog, folks. That's all at rescuemichigan.com. Karis says, everyone has to door knock for state senate and state house. We can take back the majority and reverse this insanity. Yes, state house this term. The Senate's got a 4-year term, so we're stuck with them for another 2 more years.
The other one I want to make sure everybody knows is county commissions.
Yes.
So county commissions, this is the last, in 22 was the last time they were elected for a 2-year term. Starting in 24, county commission seats are going to be 4-year terms as well. So start now and try to get good candidates for these, because you can see county government is very important. Like a lot of the mandates were then left up to the counties eventually, right? You know what I mean? It kept going lower.
Yeah.
So very important.
Yeah. The more out of control things get, the longer Democrats are in power. In Washtenaw County, our Democrats are pushing for reparations and for convicted rapists, child rapists, and murderers to be teaching children in schools. That's what our county's doing.
Jay's
That's coming to your county if you let Democrats stay in power.
Statewide, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I know they are in Wayne County, and I think
this is a state law. It goes into effect in the next election. So starting next year, the county commissions all get 4-year terms. So very serious problem. Something else I want to talk about this week. A lot of people
you can get involved in, like start like really locally, homeowners associations.
Yeah.
Right. Run for something on there. Try maybe planning commission. I mean, there's all these other things that you can start getting good experience. If maybe you want to run for office, maybe you don't, but at least we can get people into these positions of where they have more of a say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The number one thing I would encourage everybody to do, if you do nothing else, is organize your precincts.
And that
knock on doors in your own neighborhood and get at least a crew together of like a dozen people just in your precinct for all the things you need to worry about in the next election, and start doing that now. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that later in the show. We've talked about that a lot on the show too. I got something else for you.
County, want to talk about Livingston County?
Yeah, well, I was just getting to. I've got a lot of people this week who are sending me this stuff. There was this email going around from Livingston County, and this is the flyer that was always attached to the email from something called FEC United, which the fine print looks like it says Faith, Education, and Commerce. Kind of a weird abbreviation because that's also the Federal Elections Commission's abbreviation. So that's kind of strange, but whatever.
Soccer club too, FEC.
Yeah. But anyway, the flyer says
Wayne 6th also bought I-360. Well, we're starting to use it. We're training ourselves right now. She said Oakland County is using I-360.
Let me know how that goes.
I started messing with it today.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
All right. You have to show me at some point.
It's not very intuitive, I think, personally, but.
Well, I mean, as someone that has built software like this, it's not easy to make anything intuitive, but I'll be interested to see if it is more effective than the tools that I've made myself, but we'll see. Anyway, so this is the flyer. Everyone's been sending me this, and typically it's saying Livingston County is nullifying the red flag law, and our county needs to do this too. And I guess they had this Livingston County Commission meeting or something. Livingston's a conservative county, for those who don't know. It's very Republican. And here's what it says. The Biden has already put into motion a plan to take away our sovereignty as soon as the next pandemic emerges. The World Health Organization, which notably is a distinct entity from Biden, but that's okay, will get the green light to make amendments to their pandemic treaty that will put all the power into the hands of the corrupt agencies and the government. This means more dangerous recommendations and power-grabbing actions. Other states are nullifying these amendments. Livingston County has created a resolution to proclaim itself a constitutional county, therefore refusing to enforce unconstitutional laws, mandates, and executive orders. Please come hear what they're doing. And I didn't go to this meeting, but I can tell you a couple of things about this, folks, right off the top. Because I was involved very early on in a lot of groups trying to do this kind of stuff back in like 2009, 2010. Remember, this was when Barack Obama just became president, and there was lots and lots of talk about nullifying unconstitutional legislation, nullifying Obamacare, nullifying the Patriot Act, and this and that. And what almost always we found when we were digging into these resolutions is that they didn't actually have any force of anything. Because what they would often say is, we declare that we will not enforce any unconstitutional legislation. Well, who decides if legislation is unconstitutional? Well, that'd be a court striking down an unconstitutional law. Well, in that case, it's not enforceable, period. But if you don't say exactly what it is you're doing, and for the most part, always the thing to look for in things like this, because resolutions don't have force of law. The thing to look at is defunding things, like defunding the fusion centers where they're fusing federal and local law enforcement, or defunding health inspectors that are shutting down government, businesses that are open during COVID, things like that. Because these local commission boards, they can do that. They can defund things. They have that power. But when they just say, we're not going to enforce unconstitutional laws, well, first off, they're not the law enforcers. The sheriffs are the law enforcers. And I've heard that Livingston's sheriff said he's not going to enforce the red flag law, and that's wonderful. But that's separate from the county commission. The county commission doesn't have any say in that. When someone files a red flag complaint, it goes to a court, and the court is going to initiate the proceedings. So, the only role the law enforcement has is coming to get you and hauling you to your hearing, and, enforcing the deprivation, which, sheriffs are politicians too, folks. They face elections, and some of them are saying, I'm not going to enforce this order or that order, and good. That's all wonderful. But I would be shocked if this resolution isn't just one of these resolutions that just says, yeah, this is unconstitutional, so we're not going to do anything about that, when in reality, they don't do anything about it in the first place. And even if they did, the resolution doesn't change anything. And a lot of times, this is a political maneuver that we call cleaning their skirts. And you see these all the time with there'll be like a resolution in the legislature to honor the Second Amendment. And you'll have Democrats in districts that have a lot of Republicans in them, or like a lot of gun rights voters, like up north or something. And the Democrat will say, look at me, I proudly co-sponsored this resolution saying I support the Second Amendment. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't do anything. Yeah. That kind of stuff happens all the time. So my suggestion to anyone looking to defund a law or looking to stop a law from being enforced, is to defund it. And or compelling local officials not to cooperate with state or federal authorities on this, that, or the other. That's how you nullify things, is you say our county, our city will have no part in any of this. And that's typically financial and sometimes prohibiting bureaucrats from engaging. That's the way that those work. So I guess that's about all I'll say about this. Dan says it was in legislation last year. Going back to talking about the county commissions. Yeah, no question. I know this for sure. Yeah, they passed a law last year. County commissions are 4-year terms now. Curtis Michael says the name of the person who sent this email around. Yeah, I saw that. I'm not going to put it on the screen because, I'm not going to name so-and-so, I guess. But it was an email that went around everywhere. So what else we got? We had a nice movie night the other night. What is a Woman? We saw that. What did you think of all that? If you folks haven't seen this movie by Matt Walsh, it came out last year, but it was.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. When did it come out? Last fall, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, really.
Matt Walsh.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's so deadpan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So check out Matt Walsh. He's got his own show. We were talking on Monday. I did a thing about the Tucker Carlson incident, and we might talk about that more tonight too. But I was naming some other people I look for alternative sources of news and things like that. And yeah, Matt Walsh's materials are awesome. He's got his own podcast. You see it right there, and of course his Twitter account in general is just awesome. And I retweet him pretty frequently. Barry asks if I've seen Nefarious. I have not. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, we watched What is a Woman, and it is.
Oh yeah, he's streaming on Twitter because YouTube is trying to.
Right. Yeah, streaming on Twitter.
Yeah, they were censoring him or something. Sorry, brain fart. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he goes on Rumble. Curtis, you know what, folks? We're gonna do a thing at the end. We'll talk about things we like to share with people. So
that's Curtis. That's his movie. Remember, he posted last week. He did
that's right. I have not seen it yet, Curtis. I'll try to watch it this week. And send me a link again to it if you wouldn't mind, so I can watch it. What else do we have here? But anyway, we'll close the show talking about that. What else is going on? I don't think I want to talk about the Steven Crowder stuff. Do you?
No.
Yeah. Crowder is one of these.
That's his personal
voices.
life.
I agree. I will say I never really watched Crowder's show very much.
Like, this is happening after he just happened to get this huge deal with Rumble, right?
Yeah. Well, here's what it is. I've watched Crowder once in a while, but I never watched him regularly because he didn't have any material.
He was awesome against Whitmer, though, when she was killing everybody in the nursing homes.
That is true. That's right. I forgot about that.
He came to the Capitol and he did a rally. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I will, Kurt. Hold on. How do I copy and paste this or something?
I'll get it.
Star.
You can copy the texting there.
It's not doing it easily for me. If you can record it for me, we'll check it out later.
Okay.
Bill Hamilton says Steve Deese and The Blaze made the movie Nefarious, and you need to see it. Okay, well there you go. A lot of crazy stuff happening in Ukraine this week. I mentioned the assassination thing already. I feel like we're getting to a point where it's all really starting to fall apart now. Like even more than before. Like what's happening right now, Bakhmut's almost completely fallen now. And this was where Russia and Ukraine have been fighting for months, since like September. And now it's down to, I think, 6% of the city is controlled by Ukraine at this point. There's just story after story after story that the Ukraine military is not ready for this offensive, but they have to go on the offensive because they've been hyping the offensive for months, because that's, I guess, what militaries do when they're about to go on offense, is hype it up in the media and let the whole world know about. But it's just so bizarre to see the media try to make every weird excuse for it. Like this is, here, I'll show you this one story. This one just came out the other day. And this is not the kind of story you want to publish. Ukraine isn't ready for its big offensive, but it has no choice.
Okay.
Well, it has a choice not to go on the big offensive. I mean, that if you're not ready for a big offense, look at this. Ukraine's long-anticipated counteroffensive is proving irresistible to the social media armchair warriors, despite Kiev's appeals for them to stop treating the war like a spectator sport. Yeah, why are they going on an offensive because of armchair warriors on social media? Does that sound like how you launch an effective offensive? Well, the armchair warriors on social media really want us to do this. And it's going to probably happen in the next couple of weeks. I have a bad feeling it's not going to go the way the armchair warriors think it is. So there you go. Lost element of surprise. Oh, you think? You've been telling us all this whole time, since the beginning of winter. Yeah, Ukraine's going to go on that offensive any day now. Then this guy in the who for some reason is a 21-year-old with access to top secret national security documents, and he puts out leaks all this classified information where they're saying, yeah, Ukraine's not really ready for this, but we have to do it soon. Let's do it April 1st or April 15th or whenever we're going to do it. Now it's gotten pushed back a little bit, and yeah. So, but then there was the phone call with Zelensky had with China this week. Did you hear about this?
No, was it perfect? Like Trump's phone call, or?
Oh, well, it was a little awkward at times. So first off, apparently, well, first of all, Zelensky initiated the call. Zelensky's been begging to talk to.
Where did I read somewhere that they're like, up until like 4 years ago, Zelensky was like only speaking Russian, and now anyway.
Yeah. That was another thing that they said in the transcript was, China says, let me know if this rings true to you. China says we don't have one person who speaks Ukrainian, so we'll have to translate to and from Russian. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a nation of 1 billion people that's done business in Ukraine and has ambassadors in Ukraine might know one person that speaks Ukrainian, but no, they say they can't speak in Ukrainian. They have to speak in Russian. What kind of message does that send? Also, by the way, what other kind of message does this send? That China is taking a phone call from Zelensky. But they won't take phone calls from Joe Biden. They won't take phone calls from Anthony Blinken. They won't take phone calls from Lloyd Austin. The U.S. is lower on China's totem pole than Vladimir Zelensky is. But they did this. They had this phone call, and China's basically saying, "Okay, well, we're certainly ready to help you negotiate peace when you're ready to make peace in a mutually respectful manner," which is their way of saying. In other words, not like by the completely whacked out terms that the West is saying, like, "Oh yeah, we'll be ready to make peace as soon as you agree that we're going to concede Crimea."
Right.
A chance of that.
Yeah.
And then China kind of also throws in there. Oh, and just by the way, we're very grateful to see that you still agree with the one China policy, right? Because it'd be a very short relationship we will have if you start talking like the Americans are talking about liberating Taiwan, right? You get that we won't be your friend ever again if that happens. So there's that kind of thrown in there for good measure. But I mean, all of it looks like Zelensky's like, I don't like where the Americans and the British are taking me. And Zelensky's like, well, we're ready to help after you're done with this lunacy, whenever that might be. And I got a feeling that's going to be in the next month and a half. What it sounds like. That's what it sounds like this is all going. But yeah, I think it's hard to even think about how Biden and the Democrats are going to pitch this in the next election, because wasn't the whole point like, I'm gonna be a war president, because like every neocon, neoliberal, like we have to have a war so I can be a war president. That was George W. Bush's thing. Biden was all about that. We're going to stop the evil Russians.
George W. Bush was the compassionate conservative.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Until 9/11 happened.
Oh, yeah. Until after year one. Then suddenly it was all about.
I mean, that's what he ran
the Middle
on.
East, and we're going to be the shining city on the hill, and they're going to welcome us as liberators and all the rest of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That went really well, didn't it? But yeah, now we're just making war with a nuclear adversary with a gigantic military that apparently is not running out of ammunition anytime soon. And hey, why not even go to war with an even bigger country with more people and more industry who can make weapons forever and ever and ever, while we can't supply Ukraine with what they need for a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's just.
Oh, what did I read that some tanks, or they're going to want to have all like battery electric tanks in the military now?
Jennifer Granholm, I think, was one that proposed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just lunacy. Yeah. Battery powered tanks, which,
I had a battery powered snowblower. It was awful.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, I returned it. Grand Mole. That's right. 5 years, you'll be blown away. Remember?
Yeah. Here's another story. This is a funny one. This is someone who's desperate to put a good face on things. Ukraine has wind in sails ahead of counteroffensive, but Putin will not go down easily. The strike against Russian forces needs to come with managed expectations, or pride will be followed by a costly fall. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, is the expectations. I mean, this just shows how insane these people are and how stupid they are. That to them, this whole war is about PR. The whole war is about expectations, not about logistics, not about which side's running out of munitions, which side no longer has air defenses. You know, it used to be everything you would hear about in Ukraine was artillery. Russians shelling this, shelling that, shelling this, shelling that. And the reason was because Russia and Ukraine both had massive air defenses. So there wasn't very much aircraft stuff going on. Now it's like Russia's dropping glide bombs all the time, like big, massive glide bombs, and their air force is operating with impunity because Ukraine's air defenses are all gone. And, you know, so this guy, I mean, just desperate to say things. And, you know, the way they say this is typical media speak. Today, it is obvious to everyone that Putin has the second best army in Ukraine. So that's what they do. It's self-evident. There's no need to consider the battlefield reality or cite anything. It's just totally obvious. Putin's got a worse military than the Ukrainians. But, you know, this just goes on and on. And so that, you know, the article just saying the whole point of this is let's not assume that they're going to have a hugely successful offensive campaign, because we don't want people to be underwhelmed by the progress Ukraine makes in their counteroffensive. And just like, I mean, first of all, like, imagine their fantasies come true and Ukraine has a good offensive and it breaks through and it gets to Crimea. They think that's going to end the war? You think Russia's going to say, all right, that's it, guys. That's it. We're Putin's stepping down. There's going to be a regime change. We're going to balkanize Russia. It's going to be a bunch of little colonies now. The West has won. Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
I mean, this is just crazy. So, anyway.
We had a good question, though, in the chat.
Hold on. Who did?
Emma. The Russians.
Okay, yeah, there's a long comment from Lisha. I'll post in a moment. Emma says, the Russians are evil, though, regardless about how you feel about Ukraine. No. I mean, show me the evidence. What have they done that's been so evil? I mean, before they went into Ukraine, we were breaking every treaty that we'd agreed to. We were building up the Ukrainian army massively. They were shelling ethnic Russians in Donetsk city on a daily basis, which they're still doing to this day. I mean, that was what Russia said you can't do, is don't expand NATO into Ukraine. Don't bring your nuclear weapons and your tanks and everything else to our borders. Let's do something about it. So I'm not prepared to concede that Russians are evil. Russians sacrificed 27 million Russian lives defeating the Nazis. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah, and again, it's one of those things that the media just constantly repeats endlessly without offering any evidence. Just, oh, the Russians are all evil people. Really? I don't see what they've done. You're willing to take a look at anything you're willing to show me about it. But, you know, the other thing too, is keep in mind, it's the fog of war. I mean, there's allegations all the time. So-and-so's attacking civilians, so-and-so, and they say this every time this happens. Like there's a story a couple days ago, and it was a missile hit a residential building, and Russia says that it was a Ukrainian air defense missile that missed and hit a civilian building. Ukraine, of course, says it was a Russian missile. Well, who knows? It's the fog of war. We can't prove that. Mm-hmm. But as to what set this all off, I mean, Russia's been saying for years and years. I mean, who broke the Minsk agreements? It wasn't Russia. So, I think Trump has it right when he was asked what's the biggest threat in the world. He says it's not even Russia or even China. It's the United States, and I can believe that. Who has lied about everything pathologically? Who killed millions of people in this planet in a COVID outbreak? Oh wait, that was our research that was being conducted in the United States until they realized it was being done illegally in the United States, and only then did they even move it to the Wuhan lab. Anyway, yeah, Dwayne says, how can anyone trust the media when they say Russia bad, fake news? Yeah, I tend not to believe pathological liars. And when the same people who tell me that we all need to wear masks and the vaccines are safe, and Donald Trump tried to engineer a coup, and all the rest of this stuff, those aren't the people I'm inclined to believe. All right, Alicia, who was the one that sent around that email earlier, says, and I'll just post this. Please mention our upcoming event on May 13th. Stand in the Gap. Please share. Mark your calendar. May 13th. Doors open 2 p.m. I don't see an address here, Alicia. So maybe people on Facebook will see that there, and you can, I'm sure, find that comment on our Facebook page. But that's all that it was able to display on the screen there for us just now. Okay, so the other thing we didn't talk about much on this show, but I did talk about on my own little show on Monday, it was kind of just off scripted, was the Tucker Carlson thing. You got any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's the timing is just, well, you know, kind of, I guess maybe not surprising. I don't know. He's the only person who had RFK on, right?
It was right after that, right after the RFK interview. And not long after the big Trump interview, for that matter.
The Trump interview, exactly. And then also the January 6th, right? He released like the one day that he had that whole show. And then they had, and then, you know, he was supposed to do it again. And they shut him up with that. So, but what do we know now that we didn't know Monday? That it was Rupert's decision. It was the dad's decision, right? The 92-year-old guy. And Megyn Kelly's been covering it all week.
Yeah.
That's a great podcast. If anybody, I don't know if anybody listens to it. It's like an hour and a half or so every day. That's like my always listen to that one.
Megyn Kelly? Excellent.
Yeah, she's great.
I'll put that on my little list here, because I was going to close the show with this other sources.
Yeah, I knew we were going there, so I just thought I'd throw that in passing. I know we're going to get to it, but so yeah, I mean, Burns talked about it tonight too on Viva Burns, but I don't know. I mean, he said that he doesn't think they'll be able to enforce like a non-compete anywhere, because there are rumors saying that part of the Dominion lawsuit or rumor. That's a rumor. If you watch Tucker, he never bought into the Dominion stuff. He had Sidney Powell on. Did she even come on once, or was she too scared?
I think once, and he kept being aggressive to her, saying, "Where is your evidence? Where is your evidence?"
Yeah, and she never. Yeah.
Glenn Greenwald did a whole episode about this.
Invited Sidney Powell on, and she never came on. So
yeah. I think that was the pretext. There was this. There was all
the timing. They're trying to make it seem like it, you know, with the timing and stuff.
Yeah, we want it with him. This is a perfectly good excuse, even though it was complete nonsense.
Yeah, and I mean
the best part is Fox still has to pay the settlement. Now they lost their top host, so screw them.
Oh yeah, his little video, you know, was like,
yeah,
we would know if that's why he was fired. No, but they have not said why he's fired, and that's one of the big problems, because you know that's. You know, you're betraying your watchers. I don't know how many people have canceled Fox Nation. Last I heard 700,000, and that was like days ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's way
I canceled
over.
it on my Monday show.
Oh, okay. See, yeah. So people canceled that. He's still under contract with Fox.
They're apparently negotiating this because that's he's either going to get all of his money and be silenced and have a non-compete, or they'll work something else out.
Yeah, so it sounds like they can't do a non-compete, especially because they fired him, right? How are you gonna? I
mean, it depends entirely on what the contract says and what they negotiate.
I can't imagine him agreeing to anything that shuts him up. Especially
did you see the story today that Newsmax just said, Tucker, if you want to come to Newsmax, we'll give you our entire network. You can do anything you want. You can program.
Tucker TV.
Yeah, there was this article. I'll put this on the screen because this one from Breitbart had an extremely telling comment from some Fox hosts, and there's a lot to this article, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing. But here's the kicker, and nobody seems to have caught this, but this is, for me, the most important thing in the piece.
Oh my gosh! The last paragraph.
The very last paragraph, of course. The source at Fox says the change in programming is not going to be about. It has less to do with Trump and DeSantis and more to do with people like Mitch McConnell and John Thune. The change in programming will be that if there's some sort of controversial bill moving through Capitol Hill, like the Restrict Act that Tucker called out, Tucker probably single-handedly sidelined that bill. I mean, and it's not officially dead yet. We got to keep fighting on that.
Right.
But had Tucker not exposed his 3.5 million viewers to that bill, it would have sailed through.
Yeah.
We would have no free speech on the internet. So Tucker used his show to kill these controversial bills. That sort of stuff won't be going on anymore. And then I like this closing. I just think the network and the program will be dumber, rah Republicans, milquetoast content, a version of what Fox was. So,
well, Fox, Tucker was the only, deplorable. I mean, he understood the base, right? I mean, he would say things that nobody else was saying. So obviously the 8 o'clock ratings are like less than half of what he was getting. Yeah. And then,
I mean, it's not even just people that miss Tucker, but like people intentionally not watching out of spite because they're so angry about this too. Like they might even watch Fox for the heck of it, but now they're like deliberately not watching.
Well, yeah, I mean, people stopped watching because they called Arizona. I mean, they're gonna.
Yeah.
This is the only show I watched. I mean, I'm at that point now. I'm like, that was the only reason I still had cable and still had a DVR. So I'm like, well, I guess I don't need that now. So, and then even that blowhard Hannity and then Laura Ingraham, like their ratings have tanked a little bit too. Yeah. So,
if you really want to watch Fox, you don't need cable at all. Just go right here. Look, usnewson.com, Fox News Live. You can see the link at the top there. It's the live feed of Fox News. I'm gonna turn it off because I don't know what that was. Huh? There's just a stream of Fox on all the time on the internet.
Really?
There's actually two. There's more than one. There's others too.
That's interesting. Well, there's nothing to watch now. I only watch Tucker.
Yeah.
And I used to love Gutfeld when he was on Saturday, and then I don't know, something just that his weekly or his nightly show just didn't really.
Yeah, Dwayne says Hannity stinks.
And he was I
can't stand Hannity.
He was pushing the vaccine, right? He was
Hannity was like that, like that one source said, dumber, rah Republicans. Yeah, Hannity was that's all Hannity was a partisan mouthpiece. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about news sources we do like, since people are going to be looking around for some things in case. And folks in the chat, by all means, tell us what you like to watch. You can comment live, and if you are not watching the show live, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what shows you like to watch besides this one, obviously.
Okay, Barry.
Yeah. Every time Tucker's show was over, as soon as Hannity would come out, I couldn't hit the close button fast enough.
How many times would Tucker be like talking about something, and then Hannity would come out with a completely opposite opinion?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I think I named some of these on the Monday episode, but I do want to cover something. So first off, general, lots of information, headline aggregators. Like, what do you? Because the other guy that went south a while back was Drudge, but there's Citizen Free Press. They're really good. I use them a lot. Sometimes a little too pro-Trump for my taste, but that's okay. Not bad at all.
Well, if it's an aggregator, how is it pro-Trump? Like they only aggregate.
Oh, there'll be like attacks on DeSantis here and there and things like that. But still great for just getting lots and lots of general links in a rapid fire. There was another one. It used to be called Populist Press. I think they rebranded now. It's called politicalsignal.com, which is another same sort of thing. Just good for lots of headlines. And again, done to look exactly like Matt Drudge's website. Mm-hmm. Did you see this, by the way? This clip?
Oh no, you said that?
Oh, this is so funny. Yeah. Hold on, let me pull it up. Oh, come on. Well, you know what? Another great way to find news is Rescue Michigan Twitter feed. If you like, there we are. There's us. But if you like just lots of quick hits, go to our Twitter account. And I hear somewhere, I know I've got that clip. I think I've got that clip. Do I not have that clip?
All right, no more dead air.
All right. Well, let me go back to Populist Press and find it because they had it up there.
What clip? Oh, so that Biden. All right.
It was Joe Biden. Hold on, Joe Biden saying we can only reelect Trump. I'll find it. Come on, videos. Oh, there it is. I might need to hold on. I might need to do something different. I know you guys in the chat didn't hear that. Let me fix this so that you can hear it, because there's a certain way I have to share the screen or else it doesn't do it properly. Window, no, tab. Okay, here we go. This is the clip.
If you want a nominee who's a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, a proud Democrat, an Obama-Biden Democrat, join us. If you want a nominee who will bring this party together, who will run a progressive, positive campaign and turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump.
There you go.
That just happened?
That just happened like a day or so ago, yeah.
Oh,
we cannot win this election. We can only elect Donald Trump. That's Joe Biden. He said it, folks.
Who told him that? The people who decide who wins?
Yeah. Barry says, Wilcow majority. Haven't heard of them, thank you. And Carol Wynn says, Badlands Media. I have not heard of them either.
No, there's a lot of good ones in here. You should do a summary like of what everybody types, and then
yeah, we could do that. Lots of other shows. I know I mentioned Glenn Greenwald's show on Rumble. It's exclusively on Rumble. Excellent show. The thing I like about Glenn is he exposes the weakest things in Democrats that their own party needs to know about. He also exposes the weakest things about Republicans that our party needs to know about. Which is
what Tucker would do, right? Tucker had no problem slamming. Yeah.
Yeah. And, Glenn Greenwald, obviously he's from a liberal perspective, but that just makes it all the more powerful for when he's criticizing his own party.
And sometimes we need to hear stuff too that we don't want to hear about our side.
Yeah. You know what other channel I really like? And let me, I'll pull it up here. I think they're also on Rumble, but I usually end up seeing them on YouTube, is America's Untold Stories. Here, I'll put it on the screen. This is this guy, Mark Grobert, is like, he used to be the editor of the Weekly World News, and he was like a fly on the wall for a whole lot of very bizarre events in Hollywood and in the 1960s hippie culture, and all kinds of amazing stories. He does all these different live streams. So lots about the CIA, the JFK assassinations, covering Alec Baldwin a lot. But it's not just he's a researcher though. A lot of his stories are from like his own personal experience. So check out America's Untold Stories. They're on YouTube. I'm sure they're on Rumble too. Now that I think about it. Who else do I like? For more political stuff. Oh, we mentioned Viva Barnes. Of course, I mentioned him on Monday's show too. Yeah. Although Barnes is critical of DeSantis to a fault. I mean, just out of control sometimes. But the thing about Barnes is he's a very high-profile lawyer, and he gives a lot of great insights into a lot of the high-profile cases that we're talking about.
I pay
for that alone.
On Locals, I pay for two things, and it's Viva Barnes and People's Pundit.
Yeah, Kara says, who Barnes? Okay, I'll put it up on the screen.
Robert Barnes. Yeah.
Yeah, they've now gone to mostly only Rumble. What they'll often do is they'll do a stream on both platforms, and then a little ways in, they will end the show on YouTube and go to Rumble only, because if they're talking about election fraud and things like that, they don't want to. They don't want to.
Make sure you check. Speaking of Rumble, check the Rumble comments.
Thank you. Oh man, there's lots of comments on Rumble. Sorry, everybody. Thank you very much. Also, Richard on YouTube says Epic Times. Yes, they're a great publication. When I worked in Rep Riley's office, they just gave their paper out. They subscribed all of the lawmakers to their paper automatically, so it was great. We got the ink and paper
guy
version.
on the left here is Viva Fry. His name is Freihart. What's this? David Freihart. He is a Canadian who has escaped to Florida legally and now lives in Florida, but he was really big. I don't know if you followed any of his stuff with the truckers last year. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He was so good. And then Robert Barnes. So then they have their joint Locals page called Viva Barnes Law. They're both lawyers. And then they do this thing on YouTube, then they cut off YouTube, and then they're Rumble only. Then they do exclusive Locals content too. So they do that. And then, so, and I follow, Robert Burns they're both on Twitter as well. So they go live actually Sundays before this show. So I typically watch that 6 o'clock.
Hold on. I'm going to try this for the Rumble chats. What happens if I actually put the Rumble live video on the stream? We're going to probably get a Hall of Mirrors effect in a second here, but lets me see these, at least post their comments on the video.
Okay.
So you can see people are mentioning Gateway Pundit. Bill Hamilton mentioned Gateway Pundit too. Gateway Pundit to me is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they bury the lead. Sometimes they're careless. Sometimes they're amazing. So I don't know. I do keep up with them, but usually it's because I'll see things.
What am I doing? I'm scratching my side. I'm scratching my face.
Yeah, I do it sometimes too.
Not scratch my head.
Charlotte says, "This Is My Brain" and Rescue Michigan are also my news channels. I don't know what This Is My Brain is. We can check that out. Multiple people on Rumble saying Charlie LaDuff.
Yes, no BS News Hour.
Michigan Muckraker is the only one I watch on CommentTube. All right, I'm going to take this off the screen because I'm starting to get nauseous.
Yeah. Muckraker, Motor City Muckraker. That guy, Steve Nevin, he's like a big time commie, I think, leftist.
Could be.
Did you see that article he wrote about the informed democracy, about like the 41 terrifying Republicans or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some survey.
Dwayne Gritter says, "I follow West Michigan's Justin Barclay weekdays at 9 a.m. on Wood Radio." I think someone else also mentioned
Trucker Randy.
Trucker Randy up north, and then also no one mentioned him, but Theron and Wham Radio in Ann Arbor.
Patriot Approved Media on Rumble. Yeah,
thank you. Patriot Approved Media is on Rumble. Who else do I like? Someone on Rumble mentioned the Duran. Absolutely. For geopolitics, the Duran is awesome. The hosts of the Duran also had to do their own episodes every day. Alexander Mercouris. Brian Berletic, the new Atlas, is great for foreign policy stuff. Judge Andrew Napolitano's got a show on YouTube, Judging Freedom. He's got a lot of great people on there, including Larry Johnson is a frequent guest. He has his own blog, sonar21.com. Great for geopolitics. Who else do we have? LouRockwell.com. Lou was Ron Paul's first chief of staff when he was in Congress, and he runs his own website, which I can put on the screen here. Let me just share the screen here. But he often's got interesting articles. You can check him out. Who else? I should also, of course, mention the Ron Paul Liberty Report. They are on Rumble and YouTube and all the rest.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there is a lot. It's hard to.
Dwayne says so many can't keep up. I find that a lot of these sources, and even the ones I'm saying, sometimes I gravitate towards one or the other, and they change sometimes. It just happens,
Yeah.
But you look for the best thing. You look for the ones that give you the most original, best content. And I often like a lot of commentary, So I like to think the niche that we fill is being Michigan centric, which not a lot of sources are, but I guess some of them are. Some of the radio shows I mentioned.
Rattled off a lot of them that were good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Who else?
Well,
Jonathan Turley. Go ahead.
I already said Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly.
Jesse Kelly.
Yep.
He's hilarious. So those are my two top No BS News. Charlie LaDuff. He's on twice a week now. So Monday at noon and Thursday at 6, I think, for Charlie. Drew and Mike show. That's not. If you need a break from politics, you can watch Drew and Mike. Or listen to Drew and Mike. John Fredericks Radio I like. So he's on from 6 to 10. And he's a lot of times he's on War Room. So that's how I found him and then started watching his show. I actually like his show now more than War Room. I'm not sure what's going on with Bannon, but I've kind of find myself kind of only half listening, if that, anymore to that. I mean, I still have it on, but it's not, I don't know.
Yeah. Here's some reading material. This is a magazine. They have a website, but they also publish in print. American Conservative, excellent stuff. They've been around for a very long time. They're
I'm looking at my library.
What do you call their catchphrase is principles over party. I don't know if I see it on the web page here, but there you go. American Conservative. Another one is Chronicles magazine. I got a print subscription to them as well. Lots of
Take this
very
one.
good,
We'll put your
lengthy,
website
detailed
under.
articles, book reviews, things like that. Pedro Gonzalez, who we used to see on Tucker a lot, is one of their editors, I think.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
What else? Victor Davis Hanson has a podcast. He was on
Yep.
Tucker a lot, and he's a lot on Megyn Kelly.
You know where you can also find him is this website, AmericanGreatness.com.
American
They're
Greatness.
a great one.
Julie Kelly writes for American Greatness all
Yep.
the time.
This is where you find Julie Kelly's pieces.
Is that a gross toenail fungus? That's so disgusting.
What?
Why? Don't show it.
Oh, I guess they got around my ad blocker somehow. Yeah,
American
use
Thought-
Victor Davis Hanson's piece right here. Yeah, there you go.
American Thought Leaders. Eric
Haven't heard of those.
Metaxas. I listen to them sometimes. The Ruthless podcast. Do you listen to Ruthless guys ever?
I haven't heard of it.
That's Comfortably Smug. Do you follow him on Twitter?
I think I've seen his tweets here and there.
So it's more of a it's kind of almost like a variety show, but I tune in sometimes depending on the topic. But I kind of have to. The only one I listen to every day is Drew and Mike, and then Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
And
Bill
Jessica.
says we should take this list of shows and host and post them on our website. If anybody wants to watch this episode again and write those all down, I'll see if I can find the time to do it myself. But yeah, that's a good idea. I'd like to do that. That was a lot of things to look at. So there you go.
There's
folks.
a lot. Yeah. And Tucker's he's gonna be somewhere. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. All right. Well, let's
I just
call it.
wonder
Let's
now
call it a
who's
spin,
gonna
I think.
get all his shows, those Fox Nation, all those Tucker Carlson originals. I hope he gets those.
Yeah, I watched some of them, but and some of them were really great. But nevertheless, I had to cancel my subscription. So
Right,
oh,
I understand, but
there'll
I'm
be
saying
more.
I just hope whatever he negotiates.
I didn't see the one about what
Are
was
they
it?
still up?
They were when I canceled. They were still there. They only had the Tucker Carlson Tonight from like the last few days, so those were like disappearing. But I think the interview shows were still up there.
Okay.
Anyway, so of course, though, the number one show is the Rescue Michigan show, folks. So if you like this, please hit the like button, subscribe, share this around. We appreciate it.
Donate to
Hey,
Adam.
thanks for the kind words,
Right?
John. I really appreciate that too. Love you guys. We'll catch y'all next Sunday, if not sooner. Until next time. Is there anything else we missed, Patty?
John, he said Adam is a beautiful man.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything. Thanks as always for all you do for liberty. Until next time. Peace out.